I kind of think this was doomed from the beginning. And as Prince William reportedly told Harry, haste makes waste, get to know her better, don't jump into this. And hindsight is 2020. I think he's probably wanting to say to his brother, oh my God, you were so bloody right. I can't believe this.
Is he all right upstairs?
You know, and it happened. It unfolded the way people predicted it, the way Prince William seemingly thought it would. And that's sad because
and you
was,
too.
Yeah.
What?
Because that's what's so fascinating. Meghan had her sister saying this isn't going to work. Harry had his brother saying this isn't going to work.
What do you mean by that?
And unfortunately, Harry was completely drunk on love. And he took leave of all of his senses. But there's a lot that he cannot erase. An extraordinary breaking royal story developing right now. Operation Bring Prince Harry in from the cold.
Boring.
The Mail on Sunday reporting in some detail at the weekend how the Duke of Sussex is so miserable with his new life in the US, so sick of all of the woke-topians from Hollywood who've been giving him this terrible advice. He's now turned back to his old friends and is trying to rehabilitate himself.
Ha! Gay!
So, what does this mean for Prince Harry's relationship with the royal family? And most significantly, Prince Harry's relationship with his wife, Meghan Markle, which seems to be only heading in one direction.
Oh! Ew! Dude! What the fuck?
No one else I would rather discuss this with more than my friend and the sister of aforementioned Meghan Markle, Samantha Markle, joining me live from Florida.
Good job.
So, Sam, we have loads to go through on this today. Bombshell after bombshell has emerged. But what's your overall take on this? Because what's so fascinating is no one is denying the fact that Meghan Markle, your sister, hates the UK.
Fact.
So for Harry to be talking about a return surely means a return without her, whether it's full-time or part-time.
Oh my God. Hi, Jen. You know, you said it yourself. Sometimes you just got to laugh. So,
Do you see me fucking laughing, my nigga?
so really, let's take a stroll down memory lane. We went from the Freedom Flight to Operation Save Harry, you know, from the cold, right? So, you know, all of these dramas, you know, flying to freedom, flying away from what he called freedom. And, you know, we watched him whine about being the spare, not the heir.
Oh, Lord. Again.
We watched him then whine about things not working out in Hollywood. So it's like, you know, this big whine thing, but you got to ask, all of this bouncing about and all of the damage that's been done to the royal family, it seems like he didn't like being low on the figurative totem pole. He didn't like being at the bottom of the ladder. So now he's going to go from being a royal, being a prince, trashing his family, going to Hollywood, being a nobody, and now wanting to go back to the fold, quote. And if he doesn't like being on the bottom of the ladder, it kind of seems like going back. Don't you think he'll not only be at the bottom of the ladder, but like way down in the basement? You know, he's going to be at the bottom of everything, going back. And I would think realistically, so much trust has been breached. It's going to take him quite some time to build friendships that rely on trust.
Okay.
So he's got a long way to go, but if he doesn't like being at the bottom, he's sure making a leap back to, I would say, the deep basement bottom.
Come on now, dog.
What do you think? I mean, really, I don't see it as being a jiffy pop
I think
solution.
This is an absolutely desperate move. Things are going terribly in the US. The entertainment empire has been a disaster. The American celebrities have turned off him. And Colombia, I think, was an absolute critical moment, Sam.
Boy.
I know we've spoken about it before, but he looked miserable. He couldn't even hide it. Do you know the only time Prince Harry didn't look miserable in Colombia? When he was flirting with the hot female translator on the first day.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And trying to edge as far away from your sister as humanly possible. There was also the fact that Meghan was loving being in the limelight. This seems to be what she wants to do. And Harry is so clearly hating it. And in fact, new information, Sam, has emerged from The Sun.
Really, nigga?
Which reports that Prince Harry is moaning to pals that he feels like the spare again in exile in the US and might want to come home.
It's be about time.
And they quote friends as saying that Harry is feeling more and more isolated in California. The Colombia trip also really highlighted how Meghan is comfortable stepping into the spotlight while Harry cuts a very sulky figure, unhappy figure in the background. He wants to carve out a way back into royal life back in the UK and is seeking counsel.
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
But a lot of this is surely Meghan wanting to be the star, and she's not the royal. You know, her husband's the royal.
I know, but even let's reduce this down and factor in everything that's going on right now. We're talking about freedom of speech. Harry totally disparaged his family in his publications, interviews, certainly spewed off at the mouth, abusing our First Amendment freedom of speech in the United States. So going back, does he think he's going to have any freedom of speech, given all that's going on in Great Britain? Oh my God. This I got to see. What is he thinking? He had so much more freedom to shoot off at the mouth, clearly, than he did in the States. So, I'm just thinking, okay, fine. He wants an escape route. Nothing's working out for him. But here's the bottom line. Everywhere he's gone, nothing worked out. Damn! So what that seems to suggest is, you know what? You got to look in the mirror. You can't run from yourself. He's going to be back at the drawing board, going back there, unhappy, being the spare, not being at the top of the ladder, not having freedom of speech because he'll have less now than he did in the United States going back. What's he thinking?
Fact. Well, joining me now is the organiser of Black Lives Matter protests, Iman Aiton, former head of Royal Protection, Di Davis, and Talk TV presenter Sharon Osbourne over in Los Angeles. Sharon, great to have you on the programme. I don't know about you, I got about halfway through the first instalment of this wine-a-thon last Thursday and felt genuinely nauseous. I mean, I could feel vomit rising inside me. But also a sense of tedium. Like, we'd heard all this before with Oprah. Nothing really seemed that new. It was just a new gloss put on all this stuff. But the main purpose of it just seemed to be to attack the royal family, to attack the institution of the monarchy, to attack Britain as a racist country. What do you make of all this?
Good question.
It was all very distasteful, Piers. I was totally bored by the whining. And, the curtsy, the thing she said about medieval times, her lunch with the Queen was like medieval times, which, as you know, is a Disney-type entertainment place for kids.
Yeah, right.
And it's just so horribly disrespectful and just a whine fest. I mean, is the book going to be the same thing? Whining? Is there going to be no positive points? And that whole thing of him filming himself on the Freedom flight, they must have had that deal with Netflix done months before they ever left. So the whole thing was a setup. Why, unless you had a deal, why would you have done that filming of yourself on the plane and all of that?
And also, what kind of freedom?
A video diary, what?
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Yeah, and what kind of freedom is it if all you're doing is living in your California mansion with unbelievable privilege and wealth, and you're signing all these deals with companies who want their pound of flesh, and that pound of flesh is exclusively trashing your family?
What do you mean by that?
I mean, this is all they do. From the Oprah interview onwards,
But
all
how
they've
long
done is trash their families.
Onwards is trash. But there's nothing about themselves, you know, and this is a great time for them to keep talking about their charity. But no.
Boy.
It's about them being these poor little children who are so much in love and how abused they've been. Their race, the way they act, everything has been, you know, abused by the public, by the press, by the royal family. Well, do you know what? You've got a great life. You've got a beautiful family. You're so much in love. Move on. Get a life. Move on. And they just can't seem to, because their living is by telling their truth on the royal family. That's how they make their living.
Appointment is immeasurable.
Yeah.
Through their truth, as they say.
Yeah, no, I agree. Di Davies, on the question of their security specifically, because you were obviously responsible for a lot of royal security for many years, Harry claims that they were sort of had their security all taken away. Is that even remotely likely to have been true?
Good question.
Well, no, the answer is absolutely not. The protection team followed them to Canada. It was when they moved from Canada to the United States, somebody far higher than I in my present role or my old role decided, along with a committee that decides this called RABAC, they decided that it was no longer sustainable for British police officers to continue.
Okay.
And I totally and utterly agreed. And can I say, the last time you and I spoke, we were talking about the lies that his Uncle Andrew put across. And here we are again, as an investigator, as you rightly have said, and many others. There are so much inconsistencies in this. There are so many half-truths. And my concern is, as I said, having had some information from Texas, as to the number of individuals there who have believed this hook, line and sinker.
Fact. Yeah.
And if you know your history of attacks on the royal family as I do, then you would start to realise this is potentially very serious indeed, not only for the royal family, but for a fixated person on either side to get in touch and cause, as it did with President Reagan, as it did with Her Majesty a Queen last Christmas, a man with a crossbow, etc., etc.
What is he doing?
Every year, over 1,000 referrals are made to the Fixated Threat Assessment Centre. Most of them are harmless, but amongst them there is a hardcore who could pose serious risk. And that's what I've been concerned about.